Welcome back to Season 4 of the Sober Motivation Podcast. Join me, Brad, each week as my guests and I share incredible and powerful sobriety stories. We're here to show sobriety is possible, one story at a time. Let's go! In this episode, I connect with Sam, an avid listener of the podcast. Sam shares his story of growing up in Northern Virginia where sports and family played significant roles, transitioning to a college life filled with heavy drinking and partying. After moving to Florida, Sam realized that alcohol prevented him from pursuing his passions and living a fulfilled life. A significant wake-up call from his boss helped Sam make the crucial decision to stop drinking. Sam discusses his journey through sobriety, the importance of support systems like AA and podcasts, and how focusing on his hobbies and improving his mental health has changed his life. Sam now channels his energy into helping others and setting personal goals, celebrating 1 year of sobriety with a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. And this is Sam's story on the Sober Motivation Podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the podcast. I wanted to share this quick story with you before we jumped into it. I had this guy that used to attend these Celebrate Recovery meetings that I used to go to, 16 years or maybe even longer ago. And I just wasn't getting it. I just wasn't really getting it. I was going just so other people around me would think that I was doing something to improve my life, but genuinely, I wasn't really interested in getting sober or the whole process or the thought. I couldn't wrap my head around a life of sobriety. How was that ever going to be possible? I remember one time, though, this guy cornered me. His name was Ron. He cornered me outside of the meeting, kind of, sort of, and he asked me this one question. How do you want to be remembered? And as I was thinking about it, okay, this was kind of strange. This was kind of out of nowhere. I mean, I kind of knew the guy, but I didn't think that we knew each other like that. And then he said, because one day, that's all you will leave behind, is how people remember you. And it sticks with me now. At the time, it didn't really have this big impact on my life, but it makes a lot of sense to me now about how do I want to be remembered? How do you want to be remembered? I think the life I was leading and living for those years of active addiction, and when things just never seemed to go my way, I don't know that that would have been anything I was proud of leaving behind, or the memory that I would have left behind. And I think about that a lot now. How do I want to be remembered? And I feel like what that does is really puts things into perspective about how I treat others, what I accept from my life, how I am as a husband, how I am as a father, how I am as a friend, and what's really important in life. And I think that that's the gold. I think that that's it. I think that sobriety has brought so many gifts to my life, so many things that I never, ever would have thought possible. And I know that that's not anything rare or anything unique to me. It really does change so many areas of our life, but I think one of the things I'm most proud of that have changed in my life is the ability to deploy empathy. Not to feel bad for others, but to understand maybe where they're coming from, and to be able to sit with them and hear their stories and hear what they've been through from a place without judgment. Because I think at times the world can be heavy into judgment of where somebody is in their current situation without hearing their entire story of where they've come from, and maybe gain a better understanding about why they're making the choices and behaving in a certain way that they are right now, especially when it comes to addiction. But they don't hear what it was like for them growing up, or they don't hear the things that they've been through. Not that it excuses the way that we act or the way that we behave, but maybe it would make a little bit more sense. And maybe that's where we need the help in the healing. And maybe that we found alcohol or drugs or whatever it is as a way to comfort us. I never looked at my addiction that way when I was really in the mess of it. I never really looked in the rearview mirror to ask myself, how did I end up here? Was it just on a whim? Like, was I just that lucky to where my first drink hit differently than the people around me? I don't know. I look back now, I mean, I don't think so. I think that it was a accumulation of things, of life, and how it took a toll on me and everything that I had been through. And it wasn't the most traumatic situation in the entire world. And there's obviously people who go through a lot more than I ever did. And there's probably people who go through a lot less. But I don't know that that's really the point. I think that we all go through some shit. I think we all go through some shit in life. And do we deploy the tools to work through it, or do we just avoid and numb? And the longer we do that, I think it becomes comfortable. Even as tragic as addiction can be, I think I found a level of comfort in it. I knew what to expect. Even though I was burning my life down to the ground pretty quick, I knew what failure felt like. I knew what disappointing my loved ones felt like. I knew what anxiety felt like. I knew what sadness felt like. I knew what not achieving goals felt like. The other side of the coin of being successful and happy and joyful and things going good was so foreign to me. I did not understand or comprehend a life like that, because I felt like the first 25 years of my life, I was just a burden to everybody around me. So it weirdly made sense, and it weirdly became my comfort zone. The escape, the reliability that alcohol offered, like it was always there. It was always around. It was acceptable to drink. It's just really interesting. And maybe I'll leave you with that question about, how do you want to be remembered? Because one day, that's all we'll leave behind. And I think of that today, I want to be remembered as somebody that was helpful, somebody that cared about others, not based on their status or what they could do for me, but based on them being a human and struggling and maybe relatable to the struggles that I went through. And maybe I could just be the one person that would listen to them, and maybe they wouldn't expect it. And maybe that's what people need. Maybe people don't need all the answers. Maybe we don't. I know I sure as heck didn't. I didn't need all the answers. I had already been to rehab many, many times, and therapy and doctors and counselors and everybody. I mean, I knew the way out. I just needed maybe the belief in myself that sobriety could be possible for me. I knew things were bad enough. I knew it wasn't going to end well. My mom always reminds me that she had a therapist that said if I made it to 25, that I would be okay. But I think her biggest worry was, would I make it to 25? I don't know. I'm glad I did. I'm really happy I did, but there were definitely times where it could have went the other way very easily. There were situations I put myself in. The risk was really, really high for things to go the other way. So I'm extremely grateful for my life today. It's one that, we hear it a lot, a life beyond your wildest dreams. Like, that's the truth. That is. And, that kind of question keeps me grounded. I mean, how do you want to be remembered? And how do you carry yourself today is, I think, how we will be remembered. And hopefully over time, things can change about how we can be remembered. That's my hope. And I think I'm headed in that direction. I might not be able to change everybody's mind, because some of the stuff I done, I'm not proud of, and it was hurtful to others. But I think if I keep putting one foot in front of the other with time, the memory that I do leave behind, whenever that is, will be a positive one and a good one. And, maybe people will say, he went through a rough patch, but he turned it around and did something with it. And that's where I think the gratitude really comes into play, is that I could sit here and beat myself up every day for everything that went sideways, but I choose not to do that today. I'm putting one foot in front of the other and trying to maybe make this world a little bit better. In a small little way with this podcast and with the community and everything I try to do is give back and help out and also take care of myself and my family and everything in the meantime. So I'll leave you with that question. Sam, incredible story. Very grateful Sam reached out and we're able to jump on and share his story on the podcast. So let's jump right into it. Welcome back to another episode of the Sober Motivation Podcast. Today we've got Sam with us. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a Monday. Good weather here in Southwest Florida, so doing well. Thanks for having me on, Brad.
Yeah, of course, man. I was drawn to you reaching out. You shared that the podcast has impacted your journey and helped you out so much. So it's only fitting that we have you on to share your story with all of us.
Yes, thank you, man. I listened to hundreds of episodes of the podcast throughout the past year of my no alcohol journey. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for supporting the show and checking it out. So what was it like for you growing up?
Growing up for me was good, man. I grew up in Northern Virginia, played sports my whole life. So played a lot of baseball, got into wrestling in like middle school. So was always kind of on the go on the weekends. I had an older brother, so we would have baseball tournaments pretty much every weekend. And our parents would drive us kind of all around the state, sometimes to Georgia and Florida for like tournaments and stuff like that. So baseball was a big part of my life growing up. And then, I think at my age now, I look back and really see how many sacrifices my parents made for me, to get me where I am today and just be able to have that good of an upbringing.
Yeah. And that was all in Virginia then. What's it like growing up in Virginia?
Yeah, it was cool, man. We had 4 seasons. So, got to see the snow, got to see the leaves change in the fall, got nice springs, hot summers. So it was a cool experience. Met a lot of good friends in my hometown. A couple hours from the beach, some smaller mountains near us. So kind of had it all. Had it all out there.
You've listened to a couple hundred of the episodes there too. So you kind of know, probably picked up over time about, there's a couple different stories of the way things start and then maybe how things go with somebody struggling. I mean, would you say overall, like, is there anything you draw from growing up that maybe turned you down this path where alcohol checked some boxes for you or not really?
Definitely. Yeah. I would say my experience with alcohol probably started when I was 17, 18, really when I first got a vehicle. So when I got my first truck, it would be, hey, I'm going to go stay the night over at my friend's house. And then, somebody would go get a case of beer and we would kind of just drink it on the weekends, and just have fun in one of our parents' basements, pretty much. Not too much. We wouldn't really drink and drive. But we'd just stay in someone's basement, drink, have a bonfire, stuff like that. So that's kind of where it started. For sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say every weekend in high school, but, towards the end of like junior, senior year, it was, every few weekends we would go out and drink. And it wouldn't just be, from the beginning for me, it wouldn't just be, 1 or 2 drinks casually. It was, shotgunning 5, 10 beers, seeing who could get the drunkest. Yeah. And there was no real repercussions, at that time, except for your parents yelling at you, taking your phone or grounding you. So yeah, no real like ramifications in the beginning for sure. But then as I get to the age I am now, that's when it really opened my eyes to be like, hey, this is slowing me down in all aspects of my life.
Yeah, it definitely changes as more responsibility comes into life. What was it like for you growing up? I mean, was there a lot of drinking around? Were you familiar with sort of the effects of it? Anybody identify as having a problem maybe that you saw, or like, what was that like?
Yeah, I believe, on my dad's side of the family, his grandparents were heavy drinkers. Mm-hmm. I know because, we had conversations about it, in the past few years. He kind of mentioned that it potentially might run in the family, be a genetic thing, potentially. So not too much drinking. My mom doesn't drink. She just doesn't like the taste of it and then didn't like being hungover. And then, my dad, was a lawyer, so pretty high stress job. So he would drink on the weekends sometimes, and then I see now that I'm older now, it's like him and his buddies that were coming to the baseball tournaments with us. I knew they would have like a little cooler of beer, watching the games and stuff, and having fun with that. But no, it wasn't too much in my family or anything, but just I would say more in the friend group of growing up being 17, 18 in high school and
Yeah.
thinking you were invincible and stuff like that, and just not having a
Yeah.
care in the world.
Yeah. It's interesting too, though. I mean, did you notice, because you mentioned too, you went all the way in right from the beginning. I mean, did you notice that was different from some of your peers, or did everybody you're kind of hanging out with?
Yeah. So yeah, I would say it was definitely a little bit different. We'd have some friends who would say, let's see who can drink 10 beers the fastest, and just all laugh and have a good time. Like I said, with no repercussions or anything. But I knew deep down from the beginning, it kind of had a grip on me. I think I might have. I'm pretty sure I do have, a more addictive personality.
Mm.
So, when everybody would go to bed, say 2, 3 in the morning, I would sometimes stay up by myself and watch music videos, watch fishing videos on YouTube, and just drink by myself. And then I'd wake up the next day, super hungover, just a waste of a day. And then realize like, hey, why did I stay up by myself and drink 6 extra beers,
Mm.
for no
Yeah.
reason? So it's like, for me, it was like, once I cracked that first can, it's very hard for me to stop.
Yeah. Was there anything that you were struggling with sort of in high school? I mean, I know high school for me was really tough. Was there anything that you were working through, or trying to figure out? I feel like in high school too, where I was anyway, I felt like the pressure of the world. Like, I've got to know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. If I don't, I'm completely doomed.
Right.
What were your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, funny you say that too. So I think a big part too, like I had an older brother who was 2 years older than me, went to the same high school. So, I was already kind of in with that crowd, with the more baseball crowd, because just knowing his friends from growing up playing travel baseball and stuff together. So, those guys were 2 years older than me. So, they were drinking and stuff, and I had to be the cool little brother, kind of coming around too. So I'd say in high school too, I had braces, and I have red hair as well. So I got made fun of a lot, whether it was like a lot of joking, not like too serious of bullying, but, friends kind of giving you shit every now and then. So that was funny. So then I kind of just like, I've always been more of like an outgoing, social, funny person. Like I love to crack jokes and make people laugh and make myself laugh.
Yeah.
So that was kind of big for me, just to be like, hey, I drank a couple beers and I'm way funnier. And then all of a sudden I'm the center of attention. And then, everybody, the next week or after drinking, oh man, you were on one last night. You were being really funny last night.
Mm.
And, it kind of gained me some popularity through high school and in college, and, even down here in Tampa, meeting people, just having no regard for myself, just like, hey, I'm almost doing this for other people's enjoyment. And they're there for me. Hey, it's all fun and games. We're all laughing, doing stupid stuff together, but you're not with me that next day when I'm having, borderline panic attacks and anxiety and ordering fast food at 3 o'clock in the morning and not going to the gym and exercising. And it just really started affecting my mental health. So I
Yeah.
think that kind of really started from the early days.
Yeah. So relatable, man. I was like, exactly what kept me around with drinking in the beginning is because I was always kind of on the outside. And then I went to my first party, drank, and like, man, I was just like, this is the sweet spot. Where's this been, man? Everybody loves me. It was a good time. I don't really remember much of it, but talking with people the next day, you go back, you go back to wherever it is, high school or whatever. And it's like, yeah, the older guys, oh man, I still remember that. I think that's one of the things that really roped me in, because I didn't remember the first time I drank, but I remember the feeling maybe of
Mhm.
afterwards, maybe the next day. And it felt like, okay, there's value here. This makes sense. Like, wow. And it was easy, right? It was just like drink the most. You kind of lose that. I did anyway. I lost the insecurities that I had about who I
Mhm.
was or how well other areas of my life, that all faded away. And it was like, oh, here we go. I can make something of this, right? Because I was so used to just getting in trouble and all of that. I mean, it just fit right. I just fell right into it. And then, yeah, I mean, I think it's because a lot of people struggle, man. I mean, to even fast forward a little bit, a lot of people struggle building relationships in sobriety. And I think a big part of that is because when you're drinking, it's so easy. It's just like, oh, you drink, I drink, go to the bar, go do this, have a few drinks, and we can just open up in that sense. So, yeah, really interesting. So where do you go after high school? Like, so you're kind of getting into it here, and where did things go for you from there?
Yeah, so that's definitely when the alcohol and the drinking got turned up a notch, is when I went to college.
Yeah.
So I went to college in, Southern Virginia, place called Radford University. It was a D1 school, probably 13,000 students. We didn't have a football team. So our sport was kind of drinking.
Yeah.
There was one or two bars around, smaller kind of hole in the wall bars. And we would just do like fraternity parties, house parties, apartment parties, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it would just be, I mean, there was something to do every night. Like a Tuesday night, there could be karaoke. And then Wednesday night is ladies' night at the bar. Thursday night, a fraternity party. And then Friday, party at night. Saturday, day drink during the day, party at night. And then Sunday was just kind of just the recovery day. Sometimes I would drink on Sundays too. But college for me, it was we drank every weekend. Blacked out just about every weekend, was still able to graduate. Still went to class. I always kept that as a priority. Like, hey, I can't miss class, because if you go to class and you take some notes, you usually have an exam every couple, 3-4 weeks. So I was always good about that, studying. So I was able to graduate. But I joined a fraternity my second year of college, and a lot of the guys were from my hometown, those areas. So joined in that and had a good time. Met a lot of cool people who are still good friends of mine to this day.
Yeah.
But the culture was definitely just blacking out drunk, who could throw the coolest party, have the most girls over, kind of stuff like that. And again, with no real repercussions. You could get as drunk as you wanted, and as long as you weren't driving, who cares?
Yeah.
And then sometimes waking up outside of the fraternity house or on the couch that's on the front porch, and whatever, let's go get some food and do it all again.
Yeah. Well, that kind of stuff was kind of cool and celebrated, right? It was like for me,
Exactly.
it was. People would say, "Oh man," like so. I even though I kind of deep down I knew, like, okay, this might be a little bit much. Not everybody's living like this, but at the same time, it was like a big pat on the back from everybody. Like, I can't believe that you did that or whatever. And I was like, this is great. I mean, this is just so cool. But I think there was a little part of me that was dying inside of, this wasn't the way I knew I should have been operating, like I was doing that to fit, looking back now, it's 2020, right? Hindsight. At the time, the awareness, we don't have it. I didn't anyway. And looking back now, I see it clear as day for what it was, is I was willing to sacrifice my own values and all of that sort of stuff to have a place to call home, or feel like I did, but at the time when I was going through it, and it sounds like when you were too, like, it's just a college experience, right? And it's really tough when a lot of people share too, right? The college university experience, everybody we associate with is doing the same thing. So it's not like it's like we're just standing out completely on our own. And I even look back at that and I think, I thought everybody did what I was doing. When I look back now, I'm like, no, everybody, in my experience, everybody wasn't doing it. The people I was hanging out with were doing it. And I decided to hang out with them because it was kind of like the cosign of the way I was going about things.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah. And it seemed to be, like you said, like you get that kind of, that's just what the norm was, right? Like I didn't know anything but waking up and being hungover, then looking, everyone's getting mimosas now at breakfast. And then, you go there and you share stories from the night before. Oh man, you were wasted last night. You were dancing on the bar, like doing all this. And here's a video. And it's, that's funny. Like, that just seemed to be what we were chasing. And that was the goal of every weekend. Like, there was no real goals of, hey, I'm going to class, I'm passing my classes, now let's go black out. So, that was a big part of my life. Probably the reason it took me 5 years to graduate. So,
well, you made it. I mean, you made it. So that's, what is it? Better late than never. What did anybody notice or anybody mention anything like in this college portion of your life, of maybe not about the drinking directly, but was there anything? I mean, were there any dark times in there too for you?
There were. I had, a few instances in college where I lost friends where they passed away. Whether it was from a car crash, I had one friend commit suicide. And then, a good friend of mine that was in fraternity, passed, he got in a surfing accident and, passed away from that. And my only response to that was obviously, being emotional. Then it was like, oh, now I can go get extra drunk for them tonight. I'm going to live for them. And that's kind of like the avenue I took of like, hey, like that's my excuse to behave how I want to behave because my friend passed away. So now instead of pouring out one for them, it's like I'm going to drink extra for them. And, just drinking upset is never something to do, and then just getting in fights, like pointless fights with people, saying nasty things, to people, calling my parents at like 3 o'clock in the morning and almost just like making up stories and just, getting a call from them the next day with already having that anxiety from drinking. They're like, oh, are you okay? Like you called me, crying last night about, your friend that passed away. Like, are you all right? And then it just like, I never would have acted like that if alcohol wasn't in the picture. And I feel like it just like amplifies every single problem I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, even that stuff there. And that's tough too with you share with, it sounds like quite a few friends too. And then maybe not, talking about that or maybe working through that, right? Just leaning on alcohol, then it's really hard to, I think, to heal anyway. In my my story and stuff, it was really hard to do any healing or really process anything when it was just numbing and just pouring gasoline basically on a fire.
Exactly. And then it would be something like, if I'm upset, if I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I'm bored, it was like I always had alcohol right there to make things fun, right?
Yeah.
To just escape from reality almost. And this is a problem I can deal with on Sunday now. It's not a problem I have to deal with on a thirsty Thursday.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was big for me.
Yeah. Well, big distraction from life and everything that's going on. And I think, I mean, we're going to get into it. I have the sense we're going to head in that direction too. When we're younger, right? 17, 18, or we're in college. I mean, responsibility's there, but I think we could probably all agree it's a lot lower at that age than, as we get older and we have a lot, more responsibility in areas to figure things out. But eventually the whole fun aspect and using it as our coping strategy and how we move through life and everything, I think eventually creates more problems than it ever was trying to distract us from. It's a huge distraction in life, the drinking, from a lot of things, right? And I feel like for me anyway, it took me a lot longer to grow up. I feel like it took me a lot longer to grow up, maturity, because I was just leaning into drinking and that was it. And I feel like I missed out on some of those other like soft and hard skills, that maybe some of my peers were picking up on, sort of in that range of age there. So it's really interesting. So you make it through university. I mean, the wheels don't, it doesn't sound like it anyway, fall off. You're not really having any consequence. But internally, though, it sounds like things are you're struggling a bit with that.
Definitely. I feel like it was just a part of life. Like it's something I just accepted. Like, okay, I'm young, I'm in college, like, and even after college, I'm just going to drink every weekend. That was just like stuck in my brain. That's just like, that's what we do on the weekends.
Yeah.
There was never anything else, just from building those habits from years and years of doing it. That's what felt like the norm. Which really, coming off, 1 year with no alcohol, I can just see how much, time I wasted. I was lucky. I still, had the upbringing I did and kind of had, when I would get home from college or anything like that, like my parents would immediately like, hey, what's your summer job? What are you doing to work this summer? Right. Mm-hmm. So I was fortunate enough to be pushed by them to always be able to have a job. So I feel like that work ethic was kind of always instilled in me to know that I have to get this done. But then I would reward myself. Okay, I'm going to go work all week and then I'm going to get so drunk on Friday, then so drunk on Saturday, and then do it all again. That just felt like, what life was. Until now, having that year of clarity and all the wisdom I've gained from listening to your podcast, attending AA classes, talking to a therapist, going to Celebrate Recovery through, the local church, things like that, to just add the tools. And if anything, I wish I did it sooner, but, I'm a firm believer, I guess, everything happens for a reason. So yeah. I did, I wish I did it sooner, but, I'm very happy with where I am now. And, I feel like this year too, for me, I I want to give back more because I feel like, not that I've conquered it. It's definitely something that you need to work on every single day, just
Yeah.
like anything, right? If it's the gym, if you have goals in the gym, you have to go every single day. You're not going to
Yeah.
see results overnight. But then when you look back, from a year or even 6 months, you see those results. So,
Yeah.
that's the real motivator for me is like, you know, my family, my parents, they were worried about me. And, they had told me on several occasions, oh, you know, we're worried about you. We don't want you to get hurt. We don't want you to, get killed, get in an accident,
Yeah.
do anything stupid that affects you, the rest of your life. Like, for instance, if you're driving drunk and,
Mm.
God forbid, you hit a family, you hit a minivan full of a family and kids, and you wake up in, a holding cell the next day, and they're like, hey, you killed a family of 6 people, and now their life is over. Their extended family lives are essentially ruined. My life is over. My family's, life is over. I've ruined my parents' life if something like that happened. And that just made me sick to my stomach. Um,
Mm.
to know like how little of a thing is just picking up a drink and drinking it, just what could happen every time you just roll the dice
Mhm.
and do it. And I was sick of just playing with those odds. And I had a few things happen. Not anything crazy. Like I never got a DUI. I never, went to jail or anything like that. Or the
Yeah.
extent of it was just, upsetting my family and barely getting away clean of, hey, you did something stupid the night before, you said something stupid, and then just kind of brushing it under the rug and okay, I'm not going to drink for a week. And then 2 weeks later, okay, I'm only going to have 3 drinks tonight. Okay. Then a week later, okay, I'm back to having 10 drinks. And then something else happens. I was just sick of living in
Yeah.
that repetitive negative cycle all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing all that. Do you feel like when you drink, it changes you?
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think I thought it amplified me, just to be, hey, I'm more social, I'm more fun.
Yeah.
But then, when I had close friends who cared about me reach out and say, hey, man, like you're not the same person when you drink. Or if it was, girls that I was in a relationship with, to tell me, hey, you're not the same person when you drink. And then my family tell me that. Then I
Mm.
finally started opening my eyes, be like, you know what? At first, I would just push it off and be like, you don't know me. You don't know what I'm going through. And realistically, I wasn't going through that much. What I thought was a lot. And then I listened to your podcast and I'm like, oh man, a lot of these people have had it way tougher than me. Right.
Mhm.
And it's
Perspective.
just, yeah, it's just that whole perspective change of, you know, not trying to view myself like more with a victim mentality. Oh, I can drink. They say I'm not the same person. Well, you know, I just using it at, things as a scapegoat, like, oh, well, my friend is passed away years ago. So, I'm drinking for him. I'm celebrating for him,
Yeah.
just stuff like that to almost give, a reasoning for my behavior to
Yeah.
make myself feel comfortable with it. Um, yeah, but it definitely started to catch up with me when people would tell me like, hey, you're not yourself when you drink, you're a different person.
Yeah.
And things that I couldn't see because, you're blinded by alcohol.
Yeah. It is so true, man. And we'll kind of get back on the storyline here after this, but just how many problems it causes in life. For me, not drinking, I can see it clear as day in a lot of people's lives around me that still do drink. Like maybe 84% of the time things are good and they're going in the direction they want, but like the 16% of times that things are chaotic and unpredictable and everything like that, it's like, man, it's drinking. And it sounds like anyway, you're bringing up blacking out a lot. I mean, that I only had a handful of experiences like that, but the handful I had, I mean, it was unbelievable, man. It was just like, what? Like people are explaining it back to me about this sequence of events, and I went to this job, and the job sent me home, and they called the police, and I wasn't supposed to drive, and blah 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 blah. I mean, it was just like, what happened? Like you guys are making all this up, and we went out to a restaurant, and it was just, I was like, that's all one afternoon. I did all of this stuff while I was completely blacked out, and I was like, wow, man, that was wild. I don't know, like, I didn't know what to believe, but it was, yeah, they wouldn't, the people I was hanging out with, they wouldn't have made it up. Scooting back a little bit though, so you finish up high school, you go to college, drinking ramps up there. Where do you find yourself going after college?
Also back on the college thing, I had one big, event that kind of sticks with me to this day. So
Yeah.
we were at one of our fraternity houses one day, and we built a huge ramp, like a huge jump in the snow. And, we had snow kegs, and it was a big thing there. So, everybody shows up. We got the snow keg. We got a hill in the backyard. We have, a ramp to jump off snowboards. I wasn't, an experienced snowboarder at all, but, a couple beers from the snow keg, and I felt like I was Shaun White. I was like, oh man, I can go do this. There's, all my friends are here, and a lot of attractive ladies at the party. So I was like, I'm gonna go off this jump and do a cool trick. I had that liquid courage in me. So I went off the jump, broke my leg, cracked my sternum and my chest, and had to have some people drive me to the hospital. Didn't tell my parents, didn't put it on my insurance because I didn't want my parents to find out. And which came back to, haunt me, getting sent to collections, and things like that affected my credit score that, I just cleared up a year or two ago. From that, I still have pain in my chest from that because I didn't go to physical therapy. I didn't do the steps. I just went back out, healed. I was going out on crutches, still going out on crutches and drinking. I'm like, oh, I can't take my muscle relaxers that I'm prescribed because they don't mix well with alcohol. So I'm not going to take my medication. So I'm going to go out and drink. Still, man, I was on crutches in the ice and stuff like that. And, fast forward to, a couple years later, I ended up going to a cardiologist because I was having heart palpitations. And I would have, a sharp pain in my chest, which was really from my injury that I didn't treat because I drank instead of doing the proper rehabilitation. And I thought I had a heart problem. So, I go to the doctor, tell them all about it. How do you drink? Do you drink alcohol? Yeah. A couple beers on the weekends. I never told them the truth. I never told them I drank 15 beers last night, actually, and my heart's been beating weird this morning. I slept for 3 hours. I wouldn't be honest with them. I wouldn't be honest with myself. Then I ended up wearing a heart monitor for like a month, and, thinking, just having that anxiety from the drinking too, and just being like, oh my gosh, I have a heart problem. Like, I'm going to die. And just giving myself so much anxiety and freaking out my family to be like, hey, he's healthy. Why is he having heart issues? And the underlying cause it was from the alcohol. It was from binge drinking and not sleeping and not treating my injury. So, it still affects me to this day. When I work out, if I work out chest too hard, I'll get a sharp pain in it. And it's just, that was a huge thing for me to kind of, tie straight to alcohol.
Yeah. But but at the time it's too, it's interesting too. And you go, everybody has sort of these, I think, sort of these interventions in a weird way or another, where we end up in a situation where we're experiencing something as a direct result of our drinking or in a combination of other things. And then we go to get help, and it's like, we don't give all the information to where, you know what I mean? And then I had so many situations where he's like, I should have just been honest with what I was struggling with, but I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed of like where I was and how I was living. And I was like, is there something like morally wrong? I just wasn't prepared for that conversation of somebody telling me. I think subconsciously I was so scared of somebody saying, well, maybe you shouldn't drink, because at that point in my life, drinking had become the only thing that I knew to offer comfort and consistency and a good friend and all this stuff. So I was like terrified to put myself in a situation where that somebody would make the idea or suggest or even pick up on the fact that I've got a problem. Because what if they say I have to quit? I tried to quit. I can't quit. I don't know how. I don't know if I want to. But we go looking, seeking help or guidance or support. And then we only kind of share a quarter or maybe half of the story. And it's really hard. I don't know if you reflect back, but I do in my life. It was really no wonder I didn't get any help. I didn't tell anybody what the heck was going on. They couldn't help me. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly, man. And then it would just be one of those things like, during the week I'm at work, I'm focused on work. And then the weekend rolls around. It's like, hey, I know what I did last weekend, made an ass out of myself maybe. But then Friday rolls around. Oh, I just worked all week. Gone, short-term memory. Let's do it again. Maybe I won't drink as many this weekend.
Yeah.
I probably.
What about, yeah. And I mean, did you try that? Like, think like, okay, maybe I think you mentioned it earlier too, right? I'll have 3 beers or I'll do this. Like, did that ever pan out for you? Sometimes hit or miss?
hit or miss, definitely. And then I found myself, I was like, okay, I'm having 3 beers tonight. And then I would have those 3 beers and it's like, okay, I can have one more. Okay, I'll take a shot. And then it's just like, I didn't accept it. I didn't accept that I didn't have control. I didn't have the self-discipline once I had that alcohol in my system to be like, hey, that's enough. I'm feeling good. I'm going to ride off this buzz. No, it was always just chasing more and more.
Yeah. It's interesting too, sort of the self-discipline perspective of things. Because I wonder if people who don't struggle with this, if they think of it from that, do they think of it from that angle? Or do they just, the box is checked, they had enough and they move on with their life? Or is it those of us that struggle with it are in this constant battle of like, am I strong enough? Or like, why can't I? Because I would get there too. I could have 3 drinks. I'd be pissed. I'd be like miserable, but I could have 3 drinks, call it a night, whatever. I mean, I could definitely do that from time to time, but it wasn't a good time for me. Like a good time for me was to drink enough to where I didn't think the way I was when I was sober of like try to control it or try to keep it together. Is like, I want to drink enough to where that is gone and I could just keep going and try to like have as much fun as I could and not bother myself with the thought of like, why are you drinking too much? But it's always interesting to me because we kind of go back and forth on that. Like I did anyway, like, why can't I handle it? Why can't I figure it out? Why can't I just have 1 or 2? I wonder if people who don't struggle with it, if they ever, or maybe occasionally they do, but I would guess like overall, they probably don't think that that like I need to discipline myself or I need to, or maybe it's just easier for them. They're like, I have to work tomorrow. I know that if I have any more than 2, I won't feel 110%. So I feel like it's maybe an easier decision. I look at it a lot like gambling, right? Very, very serious addiction that can destroy people's lives. If I go to the casino with my grandmother, I can go overboard, like do a little bit extra. But when I leave there, I don't feel guilty. I don't feel ashamed. And I don't ever think about it again until 8 months later when she asked me if I want to go again, you know? So I wonder if it's kind of like that.
Yeah, definitely. And it was tough, for sure to kind of
Yeah.
go through that stuff and just label it off like, this is a more YOLO, like you only live once, right? If I had lost friends or lost family, it's like, well, who's going to say that I don't get in a crazy accident and die tomorrow? I'm going to live for today. I'm going to live for tonight. I'm going to have as much fun as I can right now. And then just push off all the responsibility and repercussions, till it really comes full circle. And then have anxiety about it, drink it away. Just repetitive cycle for so long, man. And I had no idea how much in common I had, with you, with the podcast. It was just so eye-opening. I feel like I literally struck gold. And like after listening to like 2 of them, I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is so relatable. It was insane. I got hooked on it, man. Like I said, dude, I'd be out walking around to ponds or fishing in the ocean and I would just have a AirPod in listening to it. Just like, wow, like this is crazy, man.
Yeah. It's interesting too. I mean, I think that like, what did you think maybe somebody's life with a problem or somebody who alcohol was taking more than it gave? Like, I think that that's a big thing that can keep us stuck for time is it's like, that's not my life, right? Like some of us, we might hear conversations or see in the movies or wherever it is, right? I think a lot of us, and I could be wrong, I'm wrong a lot, but I think a lot of us have this idea of this person looks like this, walks like that, and talks like that, and they have a serious problem with alcohol. And if I don't look like that, walk like that, talk like that, then maybe I'm good to go. Maybe I can just ride this thing for the rest of the days. But I think what I'm hearing a lot, Sam, from you is that alcohol was taking a lot from your life. And I don't mean like dollars and cents and stuff like that, but it does sound like it affected what I think is the most important thing in life is relationships. And I think it was really affecting your mental health and how you felt about yourself and how you showed up. It really sounds like it really hit you hard there.
Yeah. And I didn't think about a way out. I thought this was just something I was always going to have in my life. And it's like, hey, as long as I'm going to work, I'm more of a functioning alcoholic. And it's like, I don't drink on the weekdays. That's not me. Like, I'm not a boozer like that. I don't drink Monday nights, but when the weekend rolls around, I'm blacking out drunk almost every weekend. And, I thought that, hey, I'm still going to work. I'm not drinking on the weekdays. I'm fine. This is normal. This is what everybody does, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it felt like, at
Yeah.
first, except for, breaking that cycle this past year. It's just like, this has been the most growth, the biggest growth year of my life for sure in this past year.
Yeah.
It's been
So,
amazing, man.
yeah, which is good to hear. I mean, it is. Walk us up to kind of this decision. I mean, was there something that triggered it, or was there a bunch of what do some people call death by a thousand cuts? Was it that, or
Yeah.
was there something, a conversation? I mean, what even got you thinking? Because even this, Sam, I'm hearing all this, and I could be wrong on this too, but this is kind of what I'm picking up on. This whole idea of a not drinking life might not be something close to home for you. That might be a complete foreign concept.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I never thought in a million years I could make it a year without alcohol. Never, ever, ever thought that. So I would say leading up to it, man, like just living in Tampa, it's beautiful, almost every single day. The bar, there's a big bar scene everywhere. You got the beach bars, you got the downtown bars.
Yeah.
And, when I first moved down here, and, I left my current job. I was doing commercial insurance in Virginia in the office every day. So, moved down here, had to quit that job and started working remote for a sales job. And then ended up, I'm big into martial arts. So, started training a lot down here, and then ended up meeting some guys who work security at like the local bars. And I figured, and they're like, hey man, we'll pay you 25 an hour to come work security, kick out drunk people, from the bars. And I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, you know what? I just moved down here. Probably a good chance to meet cool people, and do that. Cool. So, I was at the bar and I was working as a security at the bar, and always around alcohol. I'd be up there till 3-4 in the morning, mopping the floors and stuff like that. Like, and then I started drinking, on the job on there. Cause I was like, you know what? I have a full-time job. Like, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
So kind of, drinking on the job there and just being around it all the time. And then on top of that, I would get 50% off at the bar when I wasn't working. So just more incentive to like, hey, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I know everybody here. I know, all that. So it's like, I'm in now. I got 2 jobs. I'm making good money. I'm getting 50% off drinks. So now I'm buying everybody drinks. And I had this party trick, actually. I called it the tornado. It's when I could drink a Corona in 2 seconds or less by, spinning it and making it look like a tornado vortex. So I was kind of known as that. And then, people would see me, oh, tornado here. And they would buy me a drink and I would do it. And they'd put me on their Snapchat or Instagram, and, people would laugh. And it's kind of, I would be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting recognized for this. Maybe it's funny. People like me. Just, having that very shallow mindset of that's what I cared about. And then, kind of fast forward, from there, just every bar and everything had happy hours, 7 to 9 o'clock, free drinks, or $20, all you can drink mimosas from 9 to 1 o'clock. And then there's football on, and, it was the thing to do. It's what it felt like, that's what life felt like it was. I was like, I'm young, I'm gonna have a family one day, but right now, this is what I'm doing. And a big reason I moved to Florida was to chase my passion and my love for fishing and being outdoors and stuff like that. And it didn't really hit me until, I had a good buddy, Justin from Virginia, kind of make fun of me. He was like, dude, you lived in Florida for 3 years. You haven't caught one big fish. And I was thinking about it. I was like, damn, he's right. What have I been doing every weekend? I've been blacking out drunk, not chasing my passion, not doing what I love. Cause I thought that's what I loved. Why would I go fishing when I could go be at the bar drinking beers and feeling great about myself and meeting a bunch of people? So that was a real eye opener for me. Like, I'm gaining weight. I'm ordering fast food every night. I'm eating bar food. I'm not getting a good sleep. I'm showing up to work not 100%. I'm not going fishing and chasing my passion and things that made me happy. Because I just had this, ball and chain of alcohol with me at all times. So just starting to kind of open up my eyes on that, and then, take it, oh, I'm not going to drink for a month. And then I would go to the gym every day, see how good I felt. And then at the end of the month, it's like, I'm bored. I want to reward myself. Let's go to the bars. I can't not drink if I go to the bars. So that kind of happened. And then what really kind of did it for me was, I was, when I moved to St. Pete, I was in a relationship, for a while. And, the girl at the time helped me a ton. She helped me a ton with the not drinking. Um, but still, I would just prioritize myself and put alcohol first over everything, over relationships, over friendships, over family, over anything. My friends would be like, hey, let's go on a fishing trip this weekend. And it's like, oh no, we got a bar crawl this weekend, man. Like, what are you thinking? So, just giving that excuse of, I'm just going to drink at all times, for fun. And then, I would say, the main thing was, I went to like I said, I went to a Bucks game, before I stopped drinking. And, like I said, I work Monday and Friday remote. So we had to be in the office that particular Monday, cause it was the end of quarter and, I do sales. So we had to push some deals over the line and get a good last day of the quarter to set ourselves up for the next quarter. And, I'm in management, so I have to show up 100% every day. Right. The team energy kind of feeds off me. I'm supposed to be, the hype guy, getting people motivated and, almost mentoring them. They're younger than me and mentoring them. And who was I as a mentor if I'm blacking out drunk every week and not really accomplishing myself? Sure, I was good at sales. I could show up every day and work hard, but I wasn't really accomplishing much. And, I actually won, sales development rep of the year at the company my first year. So, and what did I do? I went out and got blacked out drunk to celebrate. So, and I just realized like, hey, if I can achieve these things while I'm drinking on the weekends, what can I achieve if I cut it? Right? I just want to raise the bar on my life, on my goals and, mindset and things like that. And, we went to the Bucks game that weekend. I had friends in town that were visiting. So, we drank Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Bucks game comes around Sunday. I'm like, oh, I'm not drinking on Sunday. But I was so hungover and so much anxiety. It was the only thing to do. So I went over to Publix and got, 2 bottles of champagne. Didn't have any breakfast. It was a 1:00 game. Woke up at on my friend's couch at 11 a.m. and drank those 2 bottles. Went to the game and, made an ass out of myself at the game. And then went to the bars right after. And, got kicked out of some of the bars because I couldn't even stand up. And then I showed up to work the next day. We had some new people starting and stuff. And, I'm in charge of, helping them get on board and stuff. And, my boss kind of pulled me aside and was like, hey, are you good, man? Like, you seem out of it today. And then, we have a good relationship. We're friends and similar in age. So, he would tell me, I told him, I was like, hey man, like, I got banged up this weekend, 3 days. I haven't really slept that much. And he just kind of gave me that wake up call of like, hey man, I can't have this on the team. Like, don't show up like this again. And then that's really the day, holding all that anxiety from that 3-day bender and that, because then I knew then I was like, okay, boom, it's affecting work now. I told myself if it ever affected work, I was going to stop. It's affecting my relationships. It's affecting my friendships. It's affecting my family. And right when it hit work is really when I was like, okay, I need to stop. So I went to my first AA class, a week after that. Cool. Okay. Yeah.
So you went to your first AA class. Well, it's interesting going through that whole sequence of things there too, right? Where it affected all these other areas of your life, but it was like the work one was maybe the line in the sand for you. And that was kind of what really opened your eyes too, which I think is kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know your thoughts on it now, looking back too, about, the other relationships and stuff. Work is important in life too, in everything like that. I would be interested if there was another level to that about maybe the way you were living was sort of going to eventually probably be exposed even more in that direction. And if that was like, oh man, I don't want this to blend into this life. I mean, was there a thing there that was sort of the catalyst too?
Yeah, definitely. And then, going into, I guess, kind of being in that more management role, like I said, just, more mentoring people and being a coach. It's like, I'm not the best version of myself. So how can I try to help these people become the best versions of themselves? And then, showing up hungover off no sleep, was just like, I'm not being productive. Right. Yeah. I'm not being productive. I got promoted, making more money. I have more responsibility. And it's like, is this a life I want to live? Just kind of having those thoughts. It's like, hey, I'm making more money. This feels great. So why don't I channel that to hey, let's see what I can do next. Let's see if I can put down the alcohol, and that's going to give me more time on the weekend. And then, realizing I did have an addictive personality, to be like, okay, let's, listening to your podcast, listening to other self-help podcasts, how can I channel that addictive personality to good? I want to be addicted to bettering myself, being addicted to going to the gym every day, to improving my, martial arts skills, improving my fishing, things like that I kind of just neglected and put alcohol and partying as the priority for, like I said, man, I started drinking when I was 17, and, I just turned 30 a few weeks ago. Well over 10 years of just about every weekend, man, just blacking out and just, realizing how stupid it was and how much time I wasted with, pointless drunk conversations at the bar and stuff. And that's what really did it for me. And then, I would say 3 months in, every day for the first 3 months, it was like, okay, I'm done drinking till New Year's. I'm going 90 days sober. And then, telling my friends, oh, it's sober October. And then it was so funny with how many of my friends like laughed at me. They said, oh, you can't, no way you can go a month sober. And then I would just be like, oh my gosh, like, that's really how they feel. And yeah, I can. I'm going to prove them wrong. Right. And I feel like I was almost living to, not to please other people, but to just like more so fit in and do that. And I was like, wow, like people don't think I can go 1 month without drinking. It's like a challenge. So I can do it. And I went that 1 month, and then, I went 3 months, and I hit 90 days, and it was boring, I would say, for sure. Cause I stayed away from the bars for probably 2 months. And then at that point I was like, I'm good. I can go to the bar and not drink. I would go to the bar and just be miserable. And I feel like my bar of fun, of waking up every day was, right here. Like, I can't raise the bar. This is the maximum amount of fun I can have. I can't have that much fun because I'm not drinking. Yeah. And then I would say after 3 or 4 months is really when, my sleep improved. My skin health improved. Like, I wasn't breaking out as much. I felt better mentally. I was going to the gym. I was losing the beer gut that I had. I felt better physically. I was eating clean. I was treating people better. I had a better relationship with my parents, with my friends, with my family. So everything really, really started to improve after those 3 months. And like I said, man, listening to your podcast helped so much. And hearing people say like, hey, after that 3-4 months hump, it really started to click for me. That's when I started seeing results, and I was like, why stop now? I'm going to go 6 months. Okay. And then what am I going to do after 6 months? I didn't think about it. It just, a lot of the message from your podcast and in AA is, it's day by day. Right. Yeah. So, hey, as long as I can win today, then I can worry about tomorrow. And the big thing for me was like, okay, I got a weekend coming up in 5 days. Like, what am I going to do so I don't have to be bored enough to just go sit at the bar all day? Okay, I'm going to make some plans. I'm going to go fishing in the morning. I'm going to go to the gym in the afternoon. I'm going to work on, something else. I'm going to help my friends with, their companies to make a little side money, stuff like that. So really trying to just channel that to, working and chasing my passion and my hobbies. And it felt weird at first. I would go fishing and I was like, do I even love this anymore? Is this something I just grew up doing? Because I just had that in my brain of just like, you could be at the bars drinking right now. You're out here fishing. You're not catching anything, and just, after a while, just really getting that piece of just, it's not about catching the biggest fish or catching fish every time. It's about just being out on the water and being calm and cool and relaxed. Was big for me. So seeing that, and then I ended up starting up an Instagram page, Sammy Sharks. And then, I post videos with my friends, and it's got a decent little following now. So I would just post more fishing adventures. I got a GoPro. Yeah. So that was kind of my thing. Hey, I'm going to edit footage for 3 hours today, and I'm going to chase this big fish, so that would, give me an avenue not to just go to the bar all the time. And then now, fast forward, I'm, a year in now, and looking back, I feel like I'm a whole different person. I feel like I'm slowly becoming the best version of myself. And, it feels good to have friends reach out and family saying, hey, I'm proud of you, man. You've been working really hard. You look good. You're in good shape. Yeah. What changed? And not even knowing that I did stop drinking. So it's just like, oh my gosh, I actually stopped drinking alcohol. And then, from there, having friends just reach out and say, dude, how'd you do it, man? I want to stop drinking. And then, having hour-long weekly phone calls with my friends about stopping drinking. I had a really good friend named Grant. Shout out to Grant. He lives in Fort Lauderdale. So he's on the, East Coast of Florida. And, he stopped drinking And he was like 2 years sober at that point. So, I reached out to him and leaned on him heavily, and we would just, have deep conversations, because he was the same as me, blacking out drunk every day in college. And I'm like, hey, surely if this guy can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
No offense to Grant, but, we were in the same boat there of like, hey, we're the party guys, doing all this. So it helped me a ton just to kind of pick his brain and stuff like that. And I think he might've been the one that showed me your podcast, actually. So just being able to bounce stuff off of him and, really, really help just kind of change my mindset, man. And life is so beautiful. Like now, this morning I woke up at 7:30 in the morning, went down to the dock and casted the line out and had a work meeting at 9. And then here I am now. So it's been beautiful, man. And it's just been beautiful in all aspects, truly.
Yeah, man. Well, great job, man. I'm so happy to be a part of it too with the show and with you listening. And it's so great to hear that you're able to get some stuff, that's relatable from everybody's story, right? So whether it's tools or whether it's like, like I've been there and look at how people make changes, right? Because I think everything you said there is so true, man. The not drinking has to be the first domino to drop, but the potential for all the rest is massive. And all this stuff. I mean, I think that's what alcohol sneakily does, is it removes our ability to feel joy in other things that used to bring us joy, and for you, that's fishing, and everybody has sort of their thing that really brought them a lot of joy. And that's when I noticed it changed people's lives, is when, and in my life too, where it was like, I don't really enjoy anything other than drinking. That's what I look forward to. That's what I want to do. I only did activities where there was drinking. If there wasn't drinking, I wasn't really interested. I probably wouldn't participate. It just became a lot of what life seemed to be. And then when you live like that for time, it's like, oh, this is it. This is the way it goes. But then you get sober and you're like, oh man, like maybe I had that wrong. Maybe there is another way. But when you're in it, it's really hard to see it.
It is, man. And, like you said, with the drinking, people would, it's just the norm, just societal norm, every weekend, it's all I saw myself doing and caring about until you don't do it anymore. And just seeing how much of a hold it really had on you. Like every single, just 99% of the issues and the problems and arguments and anything in life was mental health. Like anything was always like a problem that happened with alcohol, something I did when I was drunk, a way I felt when I was hungover, having so much anxiety, then calling my parents and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm about to have a panic attack. And they're just like freaking out, like, what's going on? And I'm like, nothing. It's just, oh, did you drink last night? Oh, just a few, just lying to them. It's, and putting pressure on them and, telling me they're worried about me and stuff like that was just a true motivating factor. And, wanting to make them proud and, wanting to be the person that my parents raised me to be, without hiding behind this fake persona of, hey, I'm going to work every day. I'm a good person. I'm going to my 9 to 5. I'm doing this. I'm going to church on Sundays occasionally if I'm not too hungover. And just, cutting that out and really, really just like opening my eyes to like how much life has to offer. And I think that's, going back, that's what the podcast helped me with so much, was seeing people like, oh, it gets better. It gets better. Like after a year or 6 months, it gets better, but you have to work on it every single day. And cause at first I'm like, man, it's tough. First couple months, like this is boring. How do people do this? Like I can never do this. But then I listen to the podcasts and, I'll see Instagram reels and Facebook reels of celebrities that quit drinking and talking about how beautiful life is and how much they've accomplished and how happy they are with their family and things like that. And I'm like, I don't think they're just BSing me right now. Like, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep working at this because I do feel a little bit better. And not really having a goal in mind of, oh, once I hit 1 year, then we're celebrating by drinking. Mm-hmm. It's just like, once I hit 1 year, I was like, dude, I'm pedal to the floor right now. Like, I can't wait to not drink and not drink for this next year and see the progress I can make then at work, on myself, with relationships, with friendships, with my family, with fishing, with MMA. There's just like, alcohol was the thing holding me back from all of my potential. I don't want to show up and wake up at 60%, potential for the day. I want to wake up 110%. I want to wake up and crush the day. I want to get ahead of work on a Sunday and work on the weekends and, make extra money. And, waking up hungover or, waking up on a Monday and just scrambling to get my week together just wasn't doing anymore. It's like, I'll sit back on a Sunday and get ahead on the week. Then I wake up on Monday and I'm like, I already got the momentum. I'm like, I'm going to crush this week. And then I'm ahead on work. So I don't, need to work late or do anything extra, stress myself out. I can go to the gym after work. Then I can go fishing. Then I can wake up the next day and go to work again. Like, this is amazing. That's kind of what I've been doing a lot. And I was like, I never thought I could do this and just really unlock my true potential. And like I said, man, with year 2, it's, going into AA classes and doing them on Zoom as well. Somebody shares a powerful message and, they're getting emotional on there. A lot of people have gone through way, way harder things than I have. And just shooting them a message like, hey man, what you said really stuck with me. You motivated me. I'm proud of you and, keep going. A little message like that. I'll just send those out. It would go a long way. Then, when I shared my first time in AA, I was super nervous, and I'm pretty nervous right now on this podcast. Honestly, I hope I can hit all the points that I wanted to. And then, just having people reach out to me too, like, hey man, I'm proud of you. I can see the changes you're making. What you said in class inspired me. It got me through today. That was a feeling of gratification that I never thought I could get. And just how good that made me feel. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm helping them a little bit. That motivates me to help, to keep helping. So, in my year 2 coming up, that's my goal, is to be more involved in my friends' lives who are struggling with this, and just being a good friend, being there for them. Like that's the buzz I chase now. That's the high I chase now, seeing other people improve their lives. And, how can I help my friends become the best versions of themselves? I'm not perfect. I'm not there. I don't think anybody's perfect, but I'm doing well, and helping other people it's going to help me. It's going to motivate me to keep going. I'm like, okay, people are not relying on me, but people are looking up to me with what I'm doing now, whether it's at work or outside of work. So I'm really trying to use that as motivation to keep going. And I think what you're doing is just amazing, man. I see you guys have a huge following on Instagram, and then you're, like the #1 podcast on Apple Podcasts for the sobriety stuff. And it's amazing. It touched my life and changed my life. I can only imagine, the reach that you have with this. It's truly amazing. And, I want to be a part of that. So the reason I kind of message you. And if you go up through our messages, I would comment on, podcasts. And I'm like, hey, Brad, like this podcast really touched me. I had a lot in common with this guy. I'm 6 months in right now. And, it's struggle sometimes, but I want to let you know this podcast has really helped me. And then never thinking I would get a message back from you. And then, you message me back. It's not some automated thing. Thanks for reaching out. We're here for you. Send an email if you have anything. No, you messaged me right back and we're like, hey man, I'm proud of you. Like keep pushing. And I'm like, oh man, like, this is the guy who, runs the podcast. He knows who he cares. He just read what I said, and that's cool, man. So it's just amazing. It's a whole an untapped world that I never thought existed. And the network of being collaborative and being there for other people, as, cliche as it sounds, oh, I'm doing this to help other people. It's like, I feel like I'm at that point now where I don't have those temptations of if a beer's in front of me, I'm drinking, or, I'll have some friends, oh, sorry. Oh, here, you want a beer? Oh, I don't drink. Oh, sorry, man. I won't drink around you. Dude, no, it's all good, man. Hey, I'm not judging you. This for me, drinking wasn't working out. I'm not judging you for drinking at all, man. But, if you do want to reach out and you need some help, I'll give you my opinion, and I'll do that, as a good friend. But I'm not judgmental on anybody who drinks. That's their own decision. It was my own decision to stop drinking. I didn't do it, for other people. I did it for myself at the end of the day, which, would affect, my relationships in a positive way there.
Yeah, man, I was thinking about when you were sharing that there, I had the thought of, I think my uniqueness, or that I thought I was this overly unique person. I mean, we all have our own experiences in life, and nobody can take that away from us. But I thought I was uniquely different in the fact that the experiences of how good sobriety got, that was just for other people. That would never be my story. And you even kind of touched on it. Like you see these celebrities, and you see these other stories of like giving up alcohol completely changed my life, not overnight, but with time. And I would convince myself at the earlier days going to meetings like, yeah, that's fine that, for this guy, things changed, but like, that's not my reality. Like, come on. When I was homeless, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, and I would hear stuff where people have families and houses and they got all this stuff. I'm like, come on, are you kidding me? Like, that'll never be my life. There's no way. And now I'm kind of the family guy, with a life that I never thought growing up. I never thought about having kids. I never thought about owning a home or having anything. It just never crossed my mind because it was so far from my reality. But to see it all play out, and I love how you kind of hit home there too. Like, it does take time. I mean, I heard the best thing the other day. It takes you 15 minutes to walk in the woods. How long does it take you to walk out? 15 minutes. It might not be exactly like that to a science, but it does take a little bit of time, and it can feel boring because we are used to dopamine, massive dopamine. And when you drink, it just floods the system, and you go out and you're with people and it's just flooding, flooding, flooding. So if you're not drinking anymore, your brain is like, okay, let me catch up to how things actually work, not the alcohol, stimulating everything. But if you hang in there, things make sense. Heading towards wrapping up here, Sam. I really appreciate you. Huge congrats on a year. I love that too, man. Reaching back, I think year 2 is definitely about finding purpose and definitely about emotional sobriety and working through that. So I love that you're onto that. Anything that you would mention to anybody that's kind of starting out, or any closing thoughts?
Definitely, man. I think something that I tell, my friends and people that I talk to who reach out looking or sober curious is, when you're super hungover and you have that anxiety, they call it, and you feel like your life's falling apart. Take those feelings in, don't run from them, take them in and use that as motivation. What I did too was I'd have so much anxiety. I would even record myself and just talk how I was feeling. Hey, I'm feeling like this right now. I feel like my world's crumbling. I feel like everybody hates me. I feel like I'm just not a good version of myself. I feel I just have crazy anxiety that I'm going to get fired from my job when I wake up one day, and I'm doing great at work. But just having those thoughts in your head is just like negative thoughts, 2 or 3 days a week from being hungover. It adds up, man. And then, you say I'm really hungover on a Sunday and then I work the whole week. Those feelings kind of go away. You don't really think about them too much. And the weekend rolls around, you're like, all right. But, if you take a video of yourself or you journal it, like, okay, this happened. Okay, that has to do with alcohol. Write down everything that, happens when you drink, the mistakes you make, how you feel the next day, how much money you're spending, your quality of sleep. Are you going on walks? Are you working out? Like, are you chasing your hobbies? No. Write that down. And how alcohol is that blocker for you. So that was big for me. And then just to like look now in the present moment, and just like how everything, man, it affects everything. Your sleep, the food you're putting in your body, how you're taking care of yourself, dude. Like it raises your blood pressure. It's not good. And I was just running from that all the time. So, if you can document that, write down the pros and cons of drinking. Right? I guarantee you're going to have a million more cons than you are pros. Right? So now it's just like, I'm confident in myself and, where I'm at, that I don't need alcohol to have good conversations. I don't need alcohol to go out and have a good night. I never, ever thought I would be here, but it's just like, now I'm addicted to, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m. and I'm going to go on a run, or I'm going to go to kickboxing class. And then I get home and I get a text from my friends like, oh, what happened last night? I just ordered Uber Eats. I'm couch locked all day today. And I'm just like, oh man, I just hit the gym at 7 a.m. I'm doing laundry now. I'm super productive. And just kind of, comparing what the old me was doing versus, the current me is the biggest motivation for me now, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? The things that change. And, realizing where we're at, where we never thought we would be. I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things. I mean, all these gifts that come along with this, a lot of people share, they started out with alcohol being the problem. And if I just quit alcohol, everything will fall into place. But what we realize as we go on this self-development journey, and maybe this spiritual journey for some, in a sense, that all these other areas of our life also improve. And we realize that alcohol was getting in the way of, everything. So good, man. I'm happy to hear it, dude. And the fishing too, right?
Yeah. So super excited. Me and my roommates are going to chase down a Goliath grouper next, 300, 400 pound fish under a bridge. And it's like, now I'm getting up at 3, 4 in the morning to go fishing instead of getting home from the bars at 3 or 4 in the morning. So I feel like my whole life has just kind of done that 180. So I would just say, man, like take it day by day. Find what fuels you, find your passion, and alcohol will, amplify your problems. So, just because I quit alcohol, it's not like all this stuff fell into place. It just gave me more time to work on myself and, to give back and to find what I truly love to do. Because it was always hindered. It was always hindered by alcohol. So, take it day by day. It's not something you can just do overnight. Win the day, then you win the week, and then you win the month, and then you win the quarter, and then you win the year. And then you look back and you're like, man, I've came so far. So just really take it day by day and know that you can do this. I mean, if I can do it, you can do it, because, I have one drink and I have 15 drinks. So now it's like, if I'm drinking sparkling water, I'm the same way. I'll have 10 sparkling waters when I'm hanging out with my friends. So I know it's like having that social anxiety of like always needing something in my hand. And I feel like that was always a beer or a shot or a Corona that I could tornado in 2 seconds and everybody would get a laugh out. But now I'm drinking water. Now I'm really hydrated. Now my skin's clear. Now I'm able to go to the gym and wake up early and do what I love and go fishing. So it's been amazing. So just keep pushing and listen to these podcasts. It helped me a ton. And, ask for help for sure. And then I know I think my Instagram's tied to this too. So reach out to me, I'll give you, any advice that I can, and just take those little perspectives from, every podcast, every AA meeting, try to learn something new or get a different perspective or tell someone you're proud of them and to keep them going, because that's going to motivate you. So yeah, thank you, Brad. This has been awesome. I know definitely a little bit nervous at first, man, a little starstruck meeting you. You've really had an impact on my life, man. So, and this podcast truly has changed my life, man. Just being able to do it. Like I said, having a busy schedule, just being able to throw it on the Bluetooth in the car on a road trip or on a flight. Okay, I'm going through sober motivation. Oh, look at this. This is a cool story. I'm going to download that for my flight. And then just, filling my mind with self-help, not just garbage of music or Instagram reels, just brain rot. It's like trying to fill myself with like self-help has really, really had an impact. So I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, good, man. Well, I'm happy to hear that, dude. So happy to hear it. Well, thanks a lot, man, for jumping on and throwing your name in the hat. And I'm glad we were able to connect and share your story.
Yes. Thanks, Brad. It was great meeting you, man. And I hope if one person can get something out of my story, that's going to bring me a bunch of motivation to keep going. So if you're listening to this and you're struggling, keep going, take it day by day, find yourself, find, what you love to do, and just substitute that time when you're drinking with something you love, something productive, reading a book, self-help, exercising, and just keep stacking those wins up day over day. And it becomes easier. Every day is not easy, but rely on your support system and listen to the podcast. Not every day is perfect, but just keep working for the better you every day. That's what really helped me.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Well, there it is. Another incredible episode here on the podcast. Another big shout out to Sam. Give it up for Sam. 1 year, alcohol-free. So many things are changing. Incredible stuff. I'll drop Sam's contact information down in the show notes below. Send him a note. Let him know you appreciate him jumping on the podcast. If there's anything you can relate to, I'm sure he would love to hear it. If you haven't left a review yet, jump over to Apple or Spotify, drop a 5-star review, and I'll see you on the next one.